Creepypasta. It's a pillar of internet history, and it's rare to be on the internet and not know about it. But on the rare chance you don't, to summarize, creepypastas are horror stories of all kinds, mainly shared on the internet. Some of the most popular being Slenderman, The Rake, Eyeless Jack, Jeff the Unaliver, so on, you get it. The creepypasta that I'll be talking about today isn't as much as a classic creepypasta as the others, but a webcomic that became pretty popular because of a dub. The webcomic is called I Eat Pasta for Breakfast, one you may or may not be familiar with. Spooky here, and like many of you watching this, I fell into creepypasta and the atmosphere when I was just a youngster. I wasn't too far into it, but I was far enough to be twirling my hair and kicking my feet whenever I saw any Tiki Toby art. Did I want to be him or want to kiss him? We'll never know. Today we'll be looking at the creepypasta of Lazari. They switch up between the two. Otherwise known as the daughter of Zalgo. Another creepypasta I actually never heard of until doing research for this video. His story isn't actually all that interesting and doesn't have much to do with the comic, but I'll put a video up and down below if you're interested in hearing Before or after you watch this video, I don't care, whatever floats your boat. Before I get into this, I should say I haven't seen this webcomic since I was like 10 or 9, so this should be fun. I'm sure it has aged great since then. Yup. Anyways, before you buckle in, consider subscribing and liking the video. Might as well since you've made it this far, you know. All that jazz. Like I do with these kinds of videos, before diving into my thoughts, let's go over the webcomic, or more so the dub, since I'm more familiar with that. And because I'm also not dedicated enough to scroll through their DeviantArt, so that should be acknowledged as I go about this. This webcomic was made by Chibi-Works on DeviantArt, and I believe it was originally made in 2013 to 2014. I found her YouTube channel, Toby Does It All, and the earliest thing I found for the comic was auditions to voice the characters. I also found out they even voiced Lulu in the comics, another character Toby made. Since these comic dubs are kind of all over the place with where they're posted, and a lot have gone private over the years, I'll be using this compilation posted by some random person in 2020. Honestly, props to you. This video wouldn't exist without it, because I am just a silly little guy, and a silly little guy that's busy majority of the time and also too lazy. The story starts with this. There once was a woman whose body was cursed. If she dare bear a child, it will die before its birth. Through madness he crept, the monster of dark. He promised a child to ease the woman's heart. A daughter at last, she wept with joy, not knowing at once she was just his toy. First thing, we see Lazari's mother hanging from a tree, and then we see Lazari as she's taken by Slenderman. Slenderman takes her to his mansion, if I remember correctly. Yeah, he had a mansion, and immediately takes a bite out of Jack's arm. Setting her down, Slenderman helps Jack take care of the bite. Jeff the Unaliver and Lulu comes into the mansion. Jeff and Lulu meet Lazari, and Jack warns them she bites monsters. Because of this, Jeff takes off with her. We switch over to a scene of Zalgo where he finds Lazari's mother and wants Rake to go look for her, as he bashes her mother's body parts in. Back to Jeff and Lazari. Jeff wants her to bite Jane the Killer, Kriller, as she's rude to him. After biting her until she stopped moving, they went back to the house where Slenderman proceeds to rock Jeff's shit in while setting Lazari up to color with Masky, which one hell of a scene.
I have crayons and paper here!
She draws Zalgo, and Slenderman comes back confirming the woman hanging from the tree was Lazari's mother, who hated her for being a monster. This moment, it's decided that they keep her. We switch over to Zalgo once again, and he asks Stripes, another creepypasta made by Toby, to collect monsters stupid enough to manipulate. I think she does. I don't know. I cannot see shit. Lulu sings Lazari a lullaby, and they both fall asleep. In the morning, Lazari draws everyone something, and after getting caught, Slenderman asks her if she wants a bath, and she agrees. Both her and Lulu bathe together, and Slenderman brings them clothes. Little outfit reveal later, Toby and Hoodie are introduced to the scene as Slenderman tasks them with taking the 8-year-old outside, which I just wanted to point out, as we see she has developed a crush on Jack. Seeing a rock that reminds her of him, she brings it to him. Jack thanks her, and that inspires her to get more rocks that remind her of everyone else. Ben Drowned is also now introduced as he hands her a rock. Once they return, his character immediately flirts with Lulu. Jeff comes in and slaps him and continues to beat him up. Slenderman gets mad and they back off. After handing Lulu her original outfit, she decides to go out for eyes. Twinkie Man with abs shows up and it's revealed to be Zalgo, as he just starts assaulting Lulu, or as he calls Lucy. He stabs into her. Jeff shows up, seeing her fog is still out there. Intense anime moment later, Jeff takes Lulu in his arms and starts heading back. Lazari says she smells daddy, and Jack goes outside, dropping some dialogue that made me I will say, it made me chuckle even in the dear year of 2024. Jeff comes in with Lulu and she's crying as Jeff yells at her, asking why Zalgo was calling her Lucille. Slenderman tells him to calm down and to let her explain. Lulu explains that she was a child of an author who would work a lot, and once her mother got sick, she would read for her. Her mother said she'd read for her once again after she got better, but only got worse until she finally passed. Lulu isolated herself and would read many books. When she was 14, her father got worried and insisted on sending her to a private school, where she was bullied very harshly, even cutting her hair. This was her breaking point, and she would repeat stories she would read to herself in the past, which is why she ended up with the name Lulu instead of Lucy or Lucille. After a whole ordeal where she was pushed up on stage from the main girls who bullied her, they were suspended. When they came back, they drugged Lulu when she wasn't looking, ending with her tied up, which she says she doesn't want to talk about. She ran afterwards and made a bad choice, which I believe was with Zalgo. They aren't really specific about it. And her eyes were taken, as well as her ability to grow up, which means she's permanently 15. Strange, but anyways, she says she's sorry that she didn't tell them sooner. Fuck man, this is only 20 minutes in. This is gonna be such a long thing. Okay, Slenderman is laying on the couch when he remembers that he forgot about his family. Yeah, is there more for the Slenderman lore that I just do not know about? Basically, he tells Jack he's in charge because he forgot to pick up Sally and Surrender from Trender's house, whoever that is. Some fun shenanigans go down and we return to Stripes, who was told to recruit this dude, and I quote, Bleeding Man. Yet another creepypasta by Toby. Because he doesn't want to go, they fight, and after cutting off her mask, she throws him through a wall and demands that he takes her to the walker and he'll get Lulu's eyes back. Back to Slenderman, he picks Sally and what I'm guessing is his brother, Surrender. He comes back and it's confirmed that Surrender is one of his siblings, and he introduces them to each other. Slender, wanting to know exactly what Lazari is, takes her with him. They walk further into the forest, and Slender yells at her to let it change her. She turns into her true form, or the one that resembles Zalgo, and she apologizes, but Slenderman assures her it's okay and it's his fault. Before we switch back to Stripes and Bleeding Man, we see that the rake found them. But back to them, they find this walker, or Roger, as he introduces himself, yet another OC, which, I'm chilling with it so far. Because he wants to get Lulu's eyes back, he agrees to join them. We also get confirmation that Stripes is one of Zalgo's kids. Zalgo is just a whore in this universe. That's my personal headcanon so far. Stripes says she now has to find Miss Hype and Miss Eve, and Roger assures he can take her right to them. We cut back to Lazari and Slenderman, and apparently she fucking hit puberty, and it's just... y'all better not do what I think you're gonna do.
Hey guys, I'm back.
Jack? Hey!
Fuck no!
Yeah, I can't say I'm too surprised. Like, I get her being 8 years old and just having a crush on Jack, because damn, me too, girl, same age, everything. But like, no, this is really gross. I'll leave the rest of what I have to say to the end, but Christ. After Jack slams the door, Ben and Toby offer to play some video games, but Lazari says no. We meet Hype and Eve, the two Stripes was talking about, and Roger stops them as they were previously fighting. For what? no clue. Going back to Slenderman, we meet Kate. I'm pretty sure Kate is like an actual creepypasta. I think it's Kate the chaser. Slenderman leaves again, and Kate watches Lazari, and she tries to introduce herself, but is cut off from Lazari throwing a black gunk. Slenderman goes to this evil character, another OC, who says they feel bad for the 8-year-old now in a 12-year-old's body. Evil tells him to either train her or kill her, warning him Lazari is starved. Surrender, or Stevie as Slenderman calls them, has Lazari grabbed and explains the situation. In that moment, they come back and push someone on the floor. Surrender, letting Lazari go. She just fucking eats them. For some reason, they are all shocked. Like, they don't literally kill and eat people too. I don't know. Switching back to Stripes, Rake says she found her, and Stripes is very happy with this, wanting to know her state. Rake tells her she's with the enemy, and Stripes is very unhappy with it. She then says that she'll visit Lazari first before her father is informed. Then we get to see the literal 12-year-old in a bath, and listen, I'm the kind of guy that agrees nudity isn't sexual and all that shit, but after the sexualization of her character, it's just like, Slenderman tells her she belongs there and with them and blah blah blah, all of that, you get it. We go over to Lucy's point of view, and the bleeding man, or Alex, shows up. Lucy fixes his wounds after slam dunking him for breaking her rules and fighting people. It's never really talked about. More of Lucy's background is revealed, and it's Alex and Roger who were the ones that found her that day without the eyes, which they promised to get her eyes back, having this kind of sibling dynamic. We switch back to Slenderman, and we see the Twinkie Masky again, but really, who doesn't look like a massive twink in the story? At least just really fucking skinny. And he's putting Lazari to bed. Masky gathers information on how Stripes has been collecting monsters and asks Slenderman if he thinks Zalgo knows about Lazari. Slenderman says he sensed Rake, but isn't worried about it at this moment, as he wants to fix a room for Lazari. Masky critiques Slenderman's actions, and then fucking Slenderman slaps him. Like, damn. I know I was only in the creepypasta fandom for like a little bit, but hashtag not my Slenderman, okay? Just saying. The hell? I say completely unbiased, like found family isn't my favorite trope ever. We're not gonna talk about it. Realistically, it's not, but let me have this. Slenderman says he invited an old friend to teach her, and if it doesn't work, they'll kill her. Lazari hears this and panics as she is reminded from her mother's past abuse. Skipping this interaction between Lazari and Eyeless Jack, Slenderman tells Lazari to come to the door. He introduces some fucking guy I'm not even going to bother anymore to train her. Then we get a time skip to a few months later. We pick back up and it's Christmas. Slenderman gives her a gift and she asks if it's because it's her birthday. Slenderman, not knowing it was her birthday, just says so before running off. We see that Lazari's personality is a bit different as she sits down with Lulu in the snow. In the background, Jeff and Ben are having a snowball fight, and it's just an overall domestic scene. After a snowball gets hit in Lazari's direction, she demonstrates her power by making her arm go all demon-like. Before she can throw it, her mentor shows up with a random guy. With this, we get the introduction of Lazarus, Lazari's spirit demon, inner demon, I guess. We get more Slenderman family lore, and apparently his name is fucking Gerald. We also get this scene with, I think, Slenderman's brother, and we never see him again. This is just it.
One more round, Ara. You can even be on top this time.
Yeah. Slenderman helps Lazari with her arm because apparently it breaks or something of that sort when she uses her powers, which we didn't see before when she literally turned like full. Saving it for later. She asked about Jack, and Surrender tells Lazari he's sick, keeping the truth that he's infected because of the bite Lazari gave him the first time they met. Lazari, wanting to see Jack, goes in and Jack attacks her, throwing her out the window because he's pissed off or he's trying to save her. With this, Lazari runs because Slenderman is abusive, even though she didn't have a problem with him earlier. She trips through and gets found by someone. We switch back to Zalgo, and he's informed that Jack is sick and that Lazari Lazari is no longer with Slender. And we get even more LCs. Yay! It's not really anything new. Switching back to Lazari, we get graphic child imagery that's luckily blurred up and more abuse from her mother. A nightmare or a flashback, it's not specific. She starts throwing up black gunk in her dream and she sees Slender Man, traumatized by whatever happened in those few months. A galaxy being wakes her up, and upon waking, we meet Twink number 100, the puppeteer. Her hair is chopped off and she's also almost naked with tons of bandages. Lazari doesn't remember a whole lot and what happened that day she tripped, and we get to be introduced to another character who points out she's a demon. This demon lady being Sadia. She gets threatened before Sadia realizes that she's her cousin. She tells Lazari about Zalgo, and Lazari claims she never heard of him before, which is literally not true, but okay. She tells her that she was living with Slender Man before Sadia found her and she didn't like it there. Sadia assures her that he won't find her here and gives her clothes and goes off to get stuff for her arm since it's damaged. We see Roger and the girls from before, but it's a pretty useless interaction because we never see them again. Going back to Zalgo, he visits Evil, who tells him about Lazari's whereabouts, and Zalgo is made out to be this just silly guy, and it makes me want to bash my head into a wall so bad, like you don't understand. Turns out my headcanon is also true from earlier. This man is a whore. And then he leaves. We get some awkward interactions between the puppeteer and Lazari, and she trauma dumps and flinches as she expected to get hit once he laid his hands on her. She gets the stuff from Sadia, and it's revealed she's also just so different from halflings her age. Who would have thought? And she's healed. Sadia says she can introduce her to her inner demon, that being Lazarus from earlier. We see Stripes and Alex again, and we're told they had a past relationship, and then we see someone, I don't know. Switching back to Slender Man, he's pissed off that his proxies can't find Lazari and abuses them, specifically Kate. Toby also updates the state of Jack, and that ends his point of view as he claims he needs to find her, that being dead or alive. Back to our main character, Sadia does her magic, and we meet Lazarus. Lazari's character design changing yet again in her mindscape. The Galaxy person shows up again, and turns out it's Sadia's inner demon. Galaxy person tells her that her hunger is from Lazarus, and she flips out, making the mindscape crumble. Then they just fucking kill off Hoodie, because why don't we do that? You know, there's some reason there. Hoodie, as he goes out, tells Slender Man to burn in hell. We also finally get some fucking world building from Sadia. So the world is split into 3 planes of existence, the first being Human Realm, a land for humans and animals in which supernatural energy runs dry if it stays there for too long. The second being the Mid Realm, which is where they currently are. The Mid Realm is a land that mixes creatures, killers, and humans. The last being the Under Realm, where Lazari previously was, where mostly monsters and nightmares live, and it's incredibly dangerous. Lazari throws up and there's a knock at the door. This turns out to be Stripes or Ellie. She was told that Lazari was there from Zalgo and immediately rushed in, giving her a gift. They cry and hug despite Lazari never meeting this person. After 3 years of this webcomic being in process, this is it. And thank fucking God. I don't know if you can tell, but halfway through this, I literally gave up trying to understand and write the summary of this. And hang in here for the final thoughts section, because oh boy, I have a lot of those. At the start of this, I had hope. I really did, and I was kind of chilling with it, with my nostalgia on one hand and some orange juice in the other. That was until Lazari was aged up, and I think that was the downfall, and that's when it really set in with me, the ride that this webcomic was going to be. I'll start with talking about the massive goddamn plot holes. I understand that this was supposed to be a long comic, which I'll admit it already is, but it really feels like it was just added onto as time went on and nothing was planned, like at all. For example, Lazari's mother. Her story literally starts with her talking about her mother and how she was born. It's never explained how her mother's body was cursed, how it was cursed. How does she even know if she tried to bear a child, it would die before its birth? Did she try to have children? Was she told? This quote is supposedly from Lazari. So how exactly does she know this? How much did her mother tell her besides her being a monster? Because that's literally the only thing she brings up other than like God. Also, where are they? Did Slenderman go to the human realm, or were they already in the underrealm? Her mother was also portrayed as being very religious, but it's not really explored on Lazari's side unless it's a traumatizing flashback. Also, Lazari stayed in a basement for a lot of her life, but again, we don't see how that's reflected in her development or her surroundings. It's said she stayed up until a couple of months before her mom died, so why did she let her go? Where was she? Also, how did she even get that stuffed animal from Stripes? Did her mother even know about her having a sibling? Apparently Stripes did her hair and gave it a ribbon too, like they've met before but they still had to be introduced to each other near the end. Lazari also doesn't apparently know who Zalgo is, her dad, but pretty sure I mentioned this, but she has seen Zalgo before, otherwise she wouldn't have been able to draw him at the start and they wouldn't have realized she was their kid. Adding on to that, she even knows his scent, so she has to know who Zalgo is, because why would she know that? Lazarus is also never explained. That and the fact of having an inner demon in general. Like, yeah, I can see that it was foreshadowed before, but even then Lazarus acted nothing like he did in the more recent comics. He's described as the Hunger, so I'm assuming the inner voice is Lazarus from the start. Also, how come Lazari never had a problem with this hunger before with her mother? The hunger proves to be strong, so I don't think the chain that her mother did have on her would keep her away. Like, yeah, maybe in the human world she'd be weak since supernatural shit is weak there, but her mother obviously didn't keep her there or moved her for some reason, and it's just not explained. We don't even see Lazari and Lazarus' relationship develop, other than that he really comes out once Lazari transforms and ages up. I feel like over the time skip of a few months, they would have figured out about Lazarus, maybe even view them as like a threat. Lazarus can talk to the Lazari too, so why doesn't he just explain her things like Sadia did? He obviously has years upon years of experience for whatever reason. Fuck, it was never really clear what exactly inner demons are and who they are. Also, why didn't Slenderman go to Evil for more information? He obviously knows a lot and has other proxies to keep watch on her. Which, holy shit, that's a completely other thing. The relationship with them is so unclear. Like I've said, I was never in the fandom for long and never have seen like Marble Hornets or any of that, so I'm not aware of it all, but I've got the wiki, and according to the wiki, there are proxy ranks. First being the hollowed, mindless puppets created by Slenderman for the harassment of runners being the victims of Slenderman basically, with no other purpose. So that definitely isn't them. Then you have berserkers, most closely resembling the traditional perception of proxies, slaves to Slenderman, but with enough of their own will left to have superior problem solving and tactics. Still not it. And then there's also sleepers. They have their original personalities kept intact and left unaware of their status of proxies, which would fit perfectly if they weren't pretty aware. You have agents too who are also not proxies in the traditional sense. Agents appear to be the blogosphere, or otherwise known as Slender blogs, and can be interpreted as cultists. I don't know how long this ranking has been up, but seeing as this comic started a decade ago, and by then things like Marbled Hornets was already popular, I would assume it's been up for a while. Take that with a grain of salt though, I'm not like a video essayist or anything. My theory, or how I'm assuming it works, is that Hoodie, Masky, Tiki Toby, and obviously obviously Kate are closely related to sleepers, but they are aware of them being proxies, as well as Marco, that's like a spy for Zago. I didn't mention them earlier because Christ the story has so many characters already. I'll get into that later. Marco leaves a whole other can of worms open. Like, how do you get to be one of Slenderman's proxies? Shouldn't Slenderman take away their memories? That's like a whole thing to being a proxy, isn't it? To like not remember your past? Getting sidetracked. Then Jeff, Jack, Ben, Lulu, and I guess Sally are like agents who are with Slenderman for a place to stay, since they are in the Underrealm, and that's dangerous and all that. But even then, they know Slender and his actions, which is why I'm surprised that none of them showed no resistance to Lazari being there. For the actual proxies, that's like their boss, but you guys, I guess they could just be proxies or sleepers like I mentioned, but that really goes to ask, how capable are they? I understand Slenderman is powerful, but they are also under Slenderman and murder and kill people on a daily basis. From what I've seen of the actual creepypasta characters they included most of the time, they are easily defeated. Like, Jane the Killer was bested by this inexperienced child that was previously tortured and probably malnourished and weak. In fact, killed. Going off that, Lazari bit her till she stopped moving and we never saw Jane again. Also, she was on a newspaper, I believe, in one of the scenes. Hoodie being easily killed by two people we don't even get to know, and the extent of their capabilities is kind of like, it bothers me a little bit. Circling back to my actual problem, it's the dynamic between Slender and the characters throughout the comic that really bothers me. The problem isn't that they made Slenderman abusive. Well, it kind of is, but it's because they only use it as shock value pretty much to give Lazari trauma. On several occasions, Slenderman has been polite and bantered with the others, and then near the end of the comic, he just switched up. Like, you could use the example of him saying Jack eating on his couch and being bitten as punishment, or when Slenderman rocked the shit out of Jeff or taking off with Lazari, but those were used as comedical bits. Plus, the proxies in questions also literally beat each other up and don't have a problem with hurting each other. If anything, Slenderman is nice to them on several occasions. They also have been rude to Slenderman and have cussed at him. Hell, Kate even told Slender that he owed her. Point is, it's inconsistent in how the characters interact with each other. Yeah, dynamics can change, but it's important to show that change or else it feels out of nowhere. And as for me, it really took me out of the story. Like, I can definitely see if you wanted to add that, but like, Plus, we see that this man even has a goddamn family, and I'm so conflicted on what the artist wants us to feel about these characters. Same with Zago too. He's seen as an actual asshole, especially abusing Lulu, someone who is forever stuck at 15, and being genuinely kinda predatory. Once he goes to evil, he's seen as a blushing bimbo, like, huh? Hello? And you know why it's probably so hard to flesh out these characters in this story? It's because they just kept on adding more characters. Like, I have no problem with OCs being added to the story. Like, I was completely chill with it. I thought Lulu and her story was cool. I thought Stripes was a unique touch with a creepypasta having a sibling, and where that would lead to eventually. I thought it was interesting to give Slenderman a family, but didn't think too much into it since I thought Surrender was a cool character. Even Bleeding Man and Roger, I thought it would be an interesting group to be with Stripes, but then they mentioned Miss Hype and Eve and didn't even explain that, and it was just like, alright, maybe this is going a bit too far, especially since it was OCs instead of other creepypastas too. And then there was Evil, random mentor guy's weird friend, Tavi, whoever the fuck was Aura, Marco, Clyde, Lucifer, Galaxy Person, Sadia, Slenderman's father, Sadia's mother. Lazarus even came out of nowhere. Also, the inconsistency with character design is another thing, especially with Lazari. Hell, character design in general. Like, why are they all paper white and absolute twigs? I know they try to fix that, like, to the end a bit, but the only person of color in this other than Lulu, who is half Vietnamese, is Sadia, but only only in the goddamn Mindscape. Sure, you can count Lazarus, but they literally just made him black with no undertones. Honestly, there's so much more I could say and so much more plot holes that this damn comic has. Believe me, there were a few moments where I found myself like nostalgic and adoring this creation from my youth. Overall, it did not hold well. It did not hold well at all. Not trying to bash you if you do enjoy this. I see the appeal, but man, there's so much going on and it's way too much. I'll admit I could definitely see the potential in Lazari's story, and if you enjoy it, good for you. Again, take this with a grain of salt or the entire bottle. I'm no creepypasta expert at all. I think creepypasta has just entered the stage where these characters are more like things to add on to or make AUs with, either with your OCs or something along those lines. It's hard to say into canon because these stories in general are just so old. So don't take this too seriously. I do enjoy looking back, and I even watched it again with my friend to have a laugh. I love it, but I also hate it. Plus, I'm pretty sure the creator was not a great person. This is where I'll be ending the video now. Thank you so much for watching and making it this far. If you have, you know the usual. Like the video, hit the subscribe button. It doesn't hurt you, and you'll probably be finding me yapping about more niche internet topics in the future. If you'd like to recommend some niche things for me to cover or something in general, or if you want to go over your own experience with this webcomic, please do and comment down below. One last thing, I haven't been doing this a whole lot since I'm still getting used to saying like subscribe and all that, but I have links to Help Palestine such as eSIMs and hygiene kits down below in the description. I've been Spooky here, and honestly, Sally did it better.